Let me give you a small gist. Last week Saturday, we ran all the way from Stadium in Surulere through Bagada, all the way over the Third Mainland Bridge and ended up in Eko Atlantic City. We have been running a marathon every month since January of this year, and last week made it the 12th marathon we ran this year. We weren't just running the marathon, we were measuring the air quality across the route as we ran. And the data from last Saturday was pretty interesting. Now I'm going to quickly simplify all the things I'm about to say, so sit tight. PM 2.5 is basically the size of the particles that are in the atmosphere. For example, the smoke coming out from the exhaust of your cars, or even when you sweep, the dust that comes up, or when you even use wood to cook or burn something. It is basically the most common form of pollutants we inhale. The average reading we got from last Saturday was 75 micrograms per cubic meter at the end of the run. The bigger the number on the sensor, the more there is wahala. You see how this graph is red all the way? We all know red is hardly a good sign for anything. It is basically telling you how good or bad the air quality along the entire route we covered is. And it is red all the way, with just a sprinkle of yellow. Now let's come back to the numbers. APM 2.5 concentration of 0 to 12 is good, 12 to 35 is moderate, 35 to 55 is unhealthy for sensitive groups like people with asthma, and 55 to 150 is unhealthy for every single person. Now, our sensor was reading 75 micrograms per cubic meter. That is unhealthy for every single person. There are a ton of factors as to why the air was that unhealthy on Saturday, but then some of the most obvious reasons include emissions from vehicles. I noticed that we have a ton of old vehicles on our roads, including, even surprisingly, our BRT buses. There are a ton of things the government can do to address this, and one of the simplest is actually just to plant trees and have a ton of green areas around the cities. Right now, it just feels like there is a war against trees in the city because everywhere is just concretized. Another really simple thing to do is to improve the city's public transport infrastructure. And one solution that is not talked about enough is actually taking people out of poverty, because until that is done, we will still have people who rely on solid forms of fuel to actually cook, people who use firewood, people who use coal, people will use all forms of things to cook because they simply cannot afford to use gas. It is really easy to pass the blame to someone else, but this is not about blame passing. This is about owning up and taking responsibility and saying this will not be our story, and basically getting to work to fix things.